In the autumn of 1993, a brutal crime unfolded in Toledo, Ohio. The events of September 22nd involved two men, Archie Dixon and Timothy Hoffner. Their victim was Christopher Hammer. The location was the home of Kirsten Wilkerson. What began as an encounter escalated into violence. Christopher Hammer was severely beaten. Following the initial assault, Hammer was restrained. He was tied to a bed, helpless. The attackers then proceeded to rob him. But the violence did not end there. The method of killing was horrific. Christopher Hammer was buried alive. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Immediately after the murder, steps were taken to conceal the crime and profit from the victim. Archie Dixon began using Christopher Hammer's identity documents. He possessed Hammer's birth certificate and social security card. Using these stolen documents, Dixon obtained a state identification card. This new ID bore Hammer's name but Dixon's photograph. With this fraudulent identification, Dixon secured a duplicate auto title for Hammer's car. The vehicle was then quickly sold. Dixon sold Hammer's car to a local dealer. This transaction yielded a significant sum. The profit from the car sale amounted to $2,800. This act demonstrated a clear motive beyond the initial violence, suggesting a planned element of financial gain. The investigation commenced when Christopher Hammer was reported missing. Authorities began searching for him, unaware of the grim reality. The case took a turn on November 4, 1993. A detective encountered Archie Dixon by chance. The detective was investigating Hammer's disappearance. Dixon was read his Miranda warnings concerning the missing person case. However, Dixon declined to discuss Hammer's disappearance at that time. The investigation continued, uncovering crucial evidence. Detectives discovered that Dixon had sold Hammer's car. Further inquiry revealed that Dixon had forged Hammer's signature to complete the sale. This discovery provided a direct link between Dixon and the missing man's property. On November 9, 1993, police detained Dixon. He was formally charged with forgery related to the car title. This charge initiated the first formal interrogation session. During this initial questioning regarding forgery, Dixon was not immediately read his Miranda rights. The focus of this interrogation quickly shifted. Although ostensibly about forgery, the questioning centered heavily on Christopher Hammer's disappearance. Dixon was pressed for information about the missing man. During this interrogation, Dixon made a critical request. He asked for an attorney. This request, under established legal precedent, should have halted the questioning. However, police continued to question Dixon despite his clear request for counsel. Dixon admitted to forging the auto title during this session. Yet he continued to deny any knowledge of Hammer's disappearance or whereabouts. Later that same day, a significant breakthrough occurred. Timothy Hoffner, the other individual involved, led police to the location of Hammer's body. The missing person case became a homicide investigation. This discovery triggered a second interrogation session for Dixon. This time, the investigation was explicitly focused on murder. Police made a calculated decision regarding Miranda rights for this second session. They delayed informing Dixon of his Miranda rights until this second interrogation began. Testimony later revealed this delay was intentional. Police feared Dixon would again request counsel if read his rights earlier. Once Miranda rights were finally administered in the second session, Dixon spoke. During this interrogation, Archie Dixon confessed. He admitted his involvement in the kidnapping, robbery, and murder of Christopher Hammer. Following the investigation and confession, Archie Dixon was brought to trial. The evidence presented led to a conviction. Dixon was found guilty and sentenced to death. The conviction and sentence were subsequently reviewed. The appellate court affirmed the trial court's decision. The case then proceeded to the highest state court. The Supreme Court of Ohio also affirmed the conviction and death sentence. However, the case did not end there. It was appealed to the federal court system. The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals reviewed the case, focusing heavily on the interrogation procedures. Their ruling highlighted significant constitutional violations. The court found that police violated Dixon's rights by continuing questioning after he requested an attorney during the forgery interrogation. The Sixth Circuit also ruled on the police's handling of Miranda rights in the murder investigation. They determined that the police's planned refusal to read Miranda warnings during the initial phase of the murder investigation was unconstitutional. This deliberate tactic undermined the purpose of Miranda. Crucially, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals assessed the voluntariness of Dixon's confession. Given the preceding constitutional violations, particularly the continued questioning after requesting counsel and the delayed Miranda warning, Dixon's confession was deemed not voluntary in the legal sense. This ruling cast serious doubt on the foundation of his conviction. Understanding the full context of the case requires looking at the individuals involved and the events leading up to the crime. Archie Dixon's background included a troubled and dysfunctional family upbringing. These early experiences may have contributed to later behavioral issues. Dixon was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. This diagnosis describes a pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others. Such factors are often explored in attempts to understand violent behavior, though they do not excuse it. The events immediately preceding the murder involved discussions centered around Christopher Hammer's car. The vehicle appears to have been a primary motive for the encounter. According to testimony, Dixon made a chilling statement to his girlfriend beforehand. He told her they were going to get Chris tonight. This phrase was understood to mean they intended to kill him. This suggests a degree of premeditation regarding the fatal outcome. Details of the attack itself are brutal. The initial assault involved a severe beating. There was an attempt to break Hammer's neck. He was also struck with a wine bottle during the assault. Throughout the attack, Christopher Hammer begged them to stop. His pleas were ignored. The robbery involved taking more than just the car. They stole cash from Hammer. They also took his birth certificate and social security card, which were later used for the fraudulent transactions. After incapacitating Hammer and tying him up, Dixon and Hoffner left the house. Their purpose was grim. They went out to dig the grave where they intended to bury him. When they returned, Hammer was prepared for burial. He was gagged to prevent cries. He was blindfolded. He remained tied up. He was then pushed into the grave they had dug. The final act was to ensure his death. Dixon and Hoffner packed down the dirt after burying Hammer. This action sealed his fate, ensuring he could not escape or breathe. The brutality of the method underscores the depravity of the crime. Others were involved in the periphery of the case. Kirsten Wilkerson, at whose home the crime occurred, was also charged. She was convicted of kidnapping. Wilkerson was sentenced to 25 years in prison for her role. The legal consequences extended beyond Dixon. Archie Dixon has remained on death row for decades. He has faced multiple execution dates over the years. Each date has subsequently been rescheduled. The primary reason for these reschedulings has been Ohio's difficulty in obtaining the necessary drugs for lethal injection. This difficulty has led to a de facto halt in executions in the state. Ohio has maintained an unofficial moratorium on executions since 2019. Dixon's case is one of many impacted by this situation. The Archie Dixon case serves as a stark illustration of several critical issues. It highlights the fundamental importance of Miranda rights. The legal challenges centered on whether Dixon was properly informed of and allowed to exercise his right to remain silent and to counsel. The case also brings into sharp focus the legal ramifications of police interrogation tactics. The methods used, particularly the continuation of questioning after a request for an attorney and the deliberate delay of Miranda warnings, were scrutinized and ultimately found unconstitutional by the federal court. This underscores the boundaries law enforcement must respect during interrogations. Beyond the legal procedures, the case underscores the severity of the crime itself. The kidnapping, robbery, and brutal murder, culminating in being buried alive, represent an extreme act of violence. It is a reminder of the capacity for human cruelty. Finally, the case touches on complex factors that may contribute to violence. While not excusing the actions, understanding backgrounds and psychological factors can inform broader discussions about crime prevention and rehabilitation. Archie Dixon was not the only one held accountable. Timothy Hoffner was also arrested for his role in the crime. He was convicted alongside Dixon. Hoffner was also sentenced to death. Hoffner provided a confession after his arrest. His confession corroborated details of the crime and led police to the body. In his own confession, Archie Dixon also implicated Hoffner, confirming their joint involvement in the horrific events.